Hello everyone, welcome to another codebar Instagram live. We're just going to wait for Suze from Ladies of Code to join us and then we will get going. There will be an opportunity for people to ask questions, so if there is one you want to ask, just bear that in mind, and there'll be opportunities for that a bit later on. Suze has sent a request. She's coming in. Hello.
Hi, let me turn my camera around. That was a bit of a small girl error, wasn't it?
That's okay. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm warm.
Yeah, I'm melting. You can probably tell.
Yeah, I've got like a big fan back here and then like a little personal one here to try and keep me a bit cool.
Yes, so dry.
I know, yeah.
Oh,
So thank you for doing this with us.
thank you.
I'm really excited to have. Hello, Simon from San Diego. That's exciting. Yeah, so I thought we'd start by you just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name's Suze Shardlow. I'm one of the co-organisers at Ladies of Code London. Some of you, I might have met some of you at Codebar Monthlies. Codebar Monthlies is one of my favourite meetups. So yeah, I've spoken there a couple of times. I am a software engineer and a coding instructor, and I have been a co-organiser at Ladies of Code London for about 2.5 years. I'm based in London. Yeah, I'm freelance at the moment, so I haven't got a lot of work, paid work going on. I'm sure you can relate to that a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I had a long career doing other stuff, but was always really interested in code and computers ever since I was really small. And those of you folks that have been to one of my talks would have seen the photo of me sitting there on my 13th birthday on the carpet with my computer.
It's a great picture.
It's very of the time, isn't it? That carpet and the clothes and everything, and yeah.
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, I'm glad I've got that picture though, because it very much captures the zeitgeist of it. But yes, I was always interested in it, and maybe some of you can relate to this, but you maybe weren't encouraged to do it as a career. So at school, yeah, you're properly nodding there. At school, I wasn't even shown computing as something I could do for a living. So therefore, I wasn't offered GCSE or A level, which are the two qualifications you do in the British education system normally. And so, yeah, I did the long career doing other stuff, and then kind of came back when I heard about boot camps. I was like, oh, that sounds like a good way of doing it, because I didn't want to go back to uni. And I did one of them. So yeah, so Codebar is really close to my heart because there's a lot of career changes there, as well as folks that are just starting out in their careers and stuff. So there's a lot of people like me. I like it.
Yeah, it's nice to be around people who can relate to, like your journey and the adventure, I guess, that you've kind of gone through. So with Ladies of Code, you are chapter lead of London. What does that involve? Like, what does that mean?
So Ladies of Code is an organisation that runs events for women and non-binary folks. We're aimed at them. So we don't say other people can't come. Don't say men can't come. Everyone's allowed to come. We just maybe aren't focused on your needs, because I've been to a lot of meetups in London that are not specifically geared at a particular group, and when you go there it's very male dominated, very cis-het male, and you don't get a lot of women speakers, you don't get a lot of non-binary speakers, you don't see a lot of underrepresented groups just going or putting themselves up there. So we're there to cater for the needs of those folks who want a space for themselves, and we run different types of events. So we were in the middle of planning this really great program of events when this virus came and descended upon everybody. And what we're trying to do is get people interested and aware of things they may not necessarily have known about, be that technologies or different roles in tech that they can do and things like that, because it's not necessarily a case of giving somebody the basics and it being basic to them, because even if you're a senior dev, something may be new to you,
Yeah.
And they have to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So we're kind of trying to find the balance there, because we're not purely catering to beginners, although that is a big segment because there are just so many beginners, and we want to encourage people to get into tech. But we're also trying to look at people that are in the middle levels and the senior levels to kind of help them be encouraged to stay in tech as well, because a lot of women and underrepresented groups leave technology and go do something else when they progress beyond junior. So so we basically run different types of events to kind of educate and inform, but also give people a platform if they want to help people learn, to come and do their talks and their workshops and things like that.
Yeah, I think giving people that platform is really important, and also encouraging people, because a lot of people that we find, you know, particularly with our codebar monthlies, is I speak to a lot of people and they don't necessarily feel like they have something to say, and then actually once you start a conversation with them, you realize that there's so much that they could talk about, and like you just need sometimes a bit of encouragement to like maybe find a topic, or like, you know, if there's a workshop idea or like an event, like sometimes it just needs like a bit of encouragement. But people always have something to say. It doesn't, I think it doesn't matter what level you're at, you know, you could be a junior, you could be, you know, mid, you could be senior. There is always something of value you have to say. And I think it's really important to give people that platform to be able to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's not necessarily about the topic, because like me and you could both do the same topic, but we come at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Totally different, because my experience is totally different to yours.
Yeah.
And so I went to a really cool event, was it last year? Yeah, I think it was. I can't even remember what day it is, like what year it is.
I don't even know.
So I think it was last year. So it's early last year. It was called Global Diversity CFP Day, which some of you might have heard of, right? And some of you might have looked at it and thought, oh, that's not for me. But no, I guarantee it is for you. And I'm not trying to plug my blog or anything, but if you go on my blog, I write a blog post about it, so you can see what it was about. But it was all about you were allocated a mentor, and then they took you through what you could talk about and how to write your bio and your abstracts and things like that. So what we're going to be doing at Ladies of Code is just as this virus came and swooped down, we were about to run something that was inspired by Global Diversity CFP Day. And we'd lined up Twitter, and we were going to go to Twitter.
No.
I know, because it all linked up. Like, you know, Twitter's all about broadcasting anyway. Yeah. So that all kind of went a bit belly up. So we're looking at how we take that online now.
Okay.
So I will obviously advertise that in the codebar Slack if you're okay with that, for people to come. And like Neve, who's one of your coaches.
Yep.
Neve McCurry. She was there at the same time as me, and then so we both did our first tech talk around the same time, and now she's gone on to do some really great things as well.
Yeah.
And so I've recently interviewed her for one of our other series as well.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely everybody's got something to say.
Yeah.
And their own perspective.
I remember that event, the Global Diversity CFP Day event happening, and it's on for a few years now. Yeah. And it's incredible. I think it's such a good. Didn't they have like 75 locations? No, there was more than that. They had loads of locations last year.
All over the world.
Yeah. I remember New York, the team in New York doing a thing where they also said, you know, we're going to help people get their bios and talks together, but we're also going to take people's pictures, because they had a lot of feedback was that, you know, I don't really have a decent picture of myself. You know, I don't really want to just put a picture up of like, you know, me on a ski hill or, you know, like out in a park. And they had a photographer come and set up like a little booth. And then that was also your speaker picture, which I thought was such a good idea as well.
Yeah, one of the things we're exploring with doing our little event to help people get started with public speaking is doing like a showcase. People to come and do their talks. And also what we want to try and do is record it. So that, because another thing that conference organisers look for sometimes is a video. Because I mean, if I was running a conference, I would want to know how good that person was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily be too confident about just trusting what they say on a bit of paper. So at least like hear an audio recording, or ideally a video recording. So it's not going to be like great, because it's going to just be a Zoom recording. But hopefully it would be something that people can show if they want something for their portfolio. So so we're in the middle of trying to organise that at the moment.
Yeah, so you're now talking about virtual events, I guess. Are all of your events now, like, how has this, like, I don't even want to say the C word, but like, do you think it's impacted Ladies of Code?
There's been some really good things that have come out of it, and then there's been some challenges as well. So the really good things are, I have met so many people that even if they were in London, I haven't met them at one of our events, but they've come to the online ones, which has been really nice. And you kind of, because they've been regular as well, it feels like you know them a bit, and you miss them when they're not there as well. It's like, where are you? Yeah, it's really funny. And so we built up like quite a core membership now, and also the engagement on Slack has gone up quite a lot as a result as well. Because, well, I guess one of our events is very much based around come online and do what you want for 4 hours, and we use Slack for those 4 hours. If anyone wants to show somebody something or whatever, then they just, so that kind of gets up the engagement on the Slack. But so we've got this core like group that tends to come to quite a lot of them, but that's not to say that everybody isn't welcome, because we still have a few people coming every week, and everyone is more than welcome to come and join us, and keep coming for as long as you want, because obviously you haven't got a commute, you know, you can just come from your front room to your kitchen or whatever you need to do. So that's been a positive. I think it's helped me personally to kind of I'm not going to say totally, it's kind of a little bit helped me to get over my perfectionism. Because anyone who knows me knows that I'm a perfectionist and that everything's going to be just right. And so with my events, I'm really keen to make sure they're as slick as possible. Like, people are going to come with really high expectations now, but I don't want to kind of leave things to the last minute and then just wing it. You know, we test things out, everything that we can think of. Going online has really helped me to work quicker, which I wouldn't normally have done. I wouldn't normally have said, right, we're just going to have an event next week. But with the online things, because I think as well, because people are kind of holed up at home and stuff, they're making quicker decisions about what they want to come to. So they don't really need 2 weeks notice, because they haven't really got a lot of other stuff that they need to travel to and whatever. So we're finding that we can give people like 4 to 10 days notice, and we will still get decent attendance. So that's good. So the lead time on the events is short. So if somebody said to me, I can do a talk next week and it's good for both of us, we can do that. Whereas in the in-person, I'd have to find a venue, have to get them to sort out their catering, you know all of this stuff. So it's a lot more, and you've got to work out the AV when you get there and all that good stuff as well. I've fallen foul to that a couple of times. So that's been the positives. The negatives, I guess, is it's just really nice to see people. Like, I really want to see my co-organisers and give them a hug.
I know that feeling.
And it's just nice to work with the hosts as well and meet new people that way. I guess those are the downsides. And just getting out and about, I guess. But I don't miss travelling to the meetups in the rush hour. I can tell you that much.
I feel like there's this sense of like extra time now, because that time, you know, you would have spent commuting to work, after work, you know, commuting to an event, and then after an event, you know, commuting back home. You've almost got like extra time in your day now where you can, like, you know, pick up a new hobby, or like, you know, if you're, you know, dedicate more time to the gym, well, not the gym, but, you know, like go running, or, you know, like yoga or something. Like, I feel like there's this bit of extra time now of my day that I've got back. So I'm like, oh, what do I want to do with that?
I think a lot of us have got that luxury, but we were quite mindful in our group. There were some folks that maybe didn't, because some of them had caring responsibilities. So now they've got their kids at home all day. And they're trying to do a full-time job on top. And can't send them to after-school clubs and stuff like that. It was really difficult. So one of the things that we set, one of our series, they all start with get. I think the first one started with get, and then we just like named everything get.
I like that.
So one of our series is get on with it. And I said that as a joke. And then like Sarah was like, I really like that. So we just stuck the name stuff. So get on with it is the 4-hour one that I mentioned to you, where we just decided we wanted to work on something one afternoon. And I said, well, why don't we just open it up? Like, just open up a Zoom call and see who comes. And there's no pressure, like literally. And we've been running these since, I think we started on the 11th of April, and we've run 18 or 19 of them now.
Yeah.
Since April. So 1 week somebody actually had to put up a shelf, so she put up a shelf because it was something that she'd been putting off. So it doesn't have to be technical or anything.
Yeah.
But then some people have literally written blog posts they've been putting off for like a year. Some people have written talks and then gone and given that talk at a meetup. Because the other advantage of this whole situation, let's not say the C word, is that you can talk at a meetup that isn't local to you.
Yes.
So this person that I'm talking about, the San Diego person that logged on earlier, they talked at a meetup in Austin, Texas, because they could.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of our members who is Spanish spoke at our meetup, which was good because she was going to do it in person, but because it all went online, she was able to do it online, and we didn't have to wait for her to come to London. So so that was good too. Yeah,
we found that you kind of open it up now to like a bigger audience. One bit of feedback we got was that you know, there was this person, they were based in London, and they'd never really been able to get to one of our events because it was, you know, just after work, you know, childcare.
Yeah.
And they've started joining in with the Europe events that are an hour ahead, because they said starting their events at 7:30 is when, you know, they fed their child, put them to bed, that's then their time. And that wasn't even a scenario that I thought would happen, because I don't have kids. So, you know, I didn't really think that would happen. And it was actually amazing that, you know, those situations are happening. And now we're like, okay, we have to keep doing virtual events after this. Like, we just have to, because we've opened it up now to, you know, a broader group of people. You know, things like this we can do where people can join in from anywhere, you know, any of the Zoom calls like yourself. You know, you don't have to be in London or, you know, Brighton or wherever to benefit from it. And that's, yeah, 100% definitely a bonus to all this.
Yeah, and I guess going hand in hand with that, a lot of companies now are realising there's no reason why they can't let folks work remotely.
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be more remote opportunities.
Yeah.
And so people are getting used to coming to these events, and then maybe they'll look for remote opportunities, and that will get folks into the industry a bit quicker as well.
Yeah. Right. At this point, I'm going to say, if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask either one of us, drop them into the comments and we will try to, we will answer them. So whilst we maybe wait for a question, what type of event does Ladies of Code run? So you've said that there's like sometimes workshops and sometimes talks. So what type of thing would I see at one of those types of events? Like, what type of workshop would you do?
Okay, so we are currently thinking about planning, what was it? Can't remember what the topic was. It was something that, no, it will come back to me. It will come back to me. It was something that might appear simple, but senior folks might know. Oh, introduction to Vue.
Okay.
Right, so you might have been working as a developer for a while, but for example, you're a Ruby developer.
Yeah.
You're not a JavaScript developer, or you might be JavaScript, but you've only worked with Angular.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, okay, maybe we'll do Vue, because that would appeal to beginners and more experienced people alike.
Yeah.
So that's what we're thinking about doing. We held one, the last in-person event we held was not a tech skills one, it was how to improve your tech CV.
Okay.
So yeah, we recruited a bunch of mentors from different disciplines. So we had, I think we had a product manager, an engineering manager, head of data science, a data engineer. Going back to February now, which feels like it was about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
All these different people that were hiring managers in those different disciplines. And what we did was we ran our normal program of talks beforehand, and then allocated the final hour of the meetup to that. So it was a case of like, you can bring your CV and get somebody to actually look through it and give you some pointers, or just come and sit down and chat generally. So we're looking to do some more kind of what they call soft skills. They're actually quite hard, aren't they?
Yeah.
Some more stuff like that. Other events, so like I said, we had Neve on, I think at the end of May, which again, was it the end of April? Again, feels like about 3 years ago now. So that was for our Get Into series, which talks about different roles in the tech industry, which people may not know about or may have heard of, but they don't know what they involve.
Yeah.
So we had Neve talking about getting into web development, and we've had get into product management, get into gaming and AI, which was what the Spanish colleague did that I told you about earlier. Get into engineering management for those folks who are already working as software engineers who kind of thinking about making a step up, but you've heard about all these different job titles. Are they all the same thing? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Get into testing again, because I think that maybe some people don't realise you can make a whole career just out of testing.
Yeah.
And get into data engineering as well. So those are the kinds of events we're running online at the moment, and like I said, get on with it. So yeah, that's the sort of thing you'll find online at the moment.
Okay.
And then when we're not online, it's about giving people an insight into different things. So when we had our February event, which is the last one we managed to squeak in, it was around Valentine's Day, and we got Bloom and Wild to host us. It was all nice.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Everything. And so I was like, okay, so what can we do? So we've got what's linked to Valentine's. I did this massive like mind map of things. I was like, cards, okay, right, I'm going to go to Royal Mail and see if they've got anyone who can talk to me about data. So I managed to get the head of data science from Royal Mail to come and talk to us, which is really cool. It's like, oh, so how does your Valentine's card get to me? And that was really interesting, because she was talking about how they use data from the Highways Agency, because obviously they've got fleet. They've got vehicles that need to drive down. So to get the post to where it needs to be, you need to avoid all these traffic hotspots and stuff. So it's really interesting to see how they use data from somewhere else to plug into their own systems.
Yeah.
And then we had Tatiana, who spoke with me at Codebar Monsters last time.
Yeah, that was our last in-person one as well.
Yeah. So we were both at the same event twice. It was really funny. And she came and did her talk about Git commits, which again is really useful for beginners, but also useful for the experienced folks.
Yeah.
But commits, Valentine's, see what I did there?
Yes.
That's what we try and do in person. Maybe have 2 or 3 different things that just give you maybe a different slant on stuff that you may have heard about and never really thought about.
Yeah. I feel like the earlier talks that you mentioned of like the different roles that you can go into, I feel like you need to go into schools and give those talks, because there are so many times when, like, particularly in schools, I feel that like the creative roles aren't necessarily expressed to young, like teens, I guess. I had a conversation with my nephew when he was having to pick his options, and he was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, what do you enjoy? And he was like, I like playing games. I'm like, you can get paid to do that? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that game that you're playing has been tested by probably 100+ people. That their job is to, find issues and report back to developers. So like, you can get paid to play games. And it just like completely blew his mind.
This is the thing. And I am actually quite disappointed that stuff has not really changed in the school system. And believe me, I was at school a long time ago, right? And it doesn't sound like it's any different now, which is very sad.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that.
And he just didn't realise, because I don't think he was told. And I kind of get it, because at school, you don't want your teachers to be like, oh yeah, go play games. Like, you can get paid to do that forever. Like, you don't need to worry about everything else. But like, he just didn't even realise that like that type of career was available to him. And I was just like encouraging him, like, don't really worry about what your teachers are doing. Like, think about what you enjoy doing, because this is going to be, your job. Like, you're going to be doing it for 40 hours a week. Like, you want to enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, you want to enjoy it because you spend so much time doing it.
Yeah, and I wish somebody had said that to me back in the day.
I think that's why my sister probably got him to ring me. Because she was like, your Auntie Kimberley will be able to talk you through that. Like, she's better at that than me.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting as well with this lockdown, like, we won't say the C word, but I think the L word's allowed.
Yeah, that's fine.
With the lockdown, I think what we're hopefully realizing is that the arts are really important, because what are kids doing most now? They're not sitting there doing science experiments, are they?
Yeah.
Probably not. They're probably sitting there being creative. They're probably sitting there doing a lot of drawing, making stuff with their hands, writing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, making videos, stuff like that. So I think that kind of highlights A, what people enjoy, and B, how much you can learn through doing those things.
Yeah, 100%. So we have had a few questions come in. Someone has said, do you do advanced training practice?
Can I elaborate on that?
Hamad? Could you elaborate on that? I will let them elaborate.
Yeah, we've got time.
We can loop back to that. Is there any more that come in? Will there be more collaboration between the two meetups? Like Get On With It or a Get Into or a workshop that's hosted by both of us?
I would be totally up for that.
Yes, 100%, I think.
Yeah, because I think we've worked together before I was an organiser.
Yep.
The two groups, so I think we definitely need to pick that up.
Yeah, we definitely should. I think we always loved like collaborating with other orgs, you know, so yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we've noticed a few codebar folks have come
that's good
to our things. I think people that I've met at codebar,
okay,
have kind of joined in with some of our events, so that's quite cool.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's also that role model thing, is it, as well? Whereas, like, because we attract a lot of new developers, where you've likely got more mid, you know, experienced developers. So I think it, you know, as a beginner, you know, female developer, you really want to immerse yourself with like as many people who look like you. And so I think it's really important to have events, you know, that are, you know, varied for both types of people. You know, us beginners, and then you know, beginners, mid, and senior. Actually, you know, I think it's a really nice crossover.
Yeah, because I think the mids and the seniors often get forgotten.
Yeah, 100%.
I think a lot of groups cater to beginners, and beginners are really important. But I think as a beginner, it's not difficult to find a group to cater to you.
Yeah.
But as a mid or a senior, I think it's a lot harder.
Yeah. So my answer to that is watch this space. We will maybe have a chat in like a few weeks or so about an event that we could do together.
In the second wave, I better not say that.
Yeah, oh no, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a surge in beginners through all of this? Presumably lots of people are trying out new things.
Yes, so we've seen a lot of people that Get On With It come on, and they've said, right, I want to work through this JavaScript tutorial or something like that. So yeah, people are definitely coming to us because they just want some quiet time to just sit down and get this stuff done. And you know, we don't exist to kind of teach people as such, but you know, it's just like any kind of support group, I guess. If you've tried it and you've tried everything, you come on. It's a bit like being at work and you get stuck on a coding problem.
Yeah.
Like, I've got this and this, like, what's wrong? And then you've got a few different pairs of eyes to look at it. So yeah, yes, and also people getting laid off and stuff like that, and looking at options.
Yeah.
And I think some of them are just looking at what they could do, and part of that is looking at tutorials and things. So,
yeah, because we've had a few people who are on furlough, and they've said, you know, like it's the perfect time really to like pick up a new skill, and you know, and they've not necessarily, they may be still in the tech world, so they may be like designers or, you know, product owners, and they're like, you know, I know what coding is. And like, now's the perfect chance for me to like actually give it a go and like see what it's all about. And so it's been really nice, like seeing this like new wave of people coming through that, you know, we may not have seen otherwise. Actually, I don't think. Yeah. Yeah,
and I think there's a lot more resources now than when I decided I wanted to retrain. There's a lot of free resources, a lot of tutorials and things like that. So if you Google it, it's just really easy to figure out where to start.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You've just reminded me of your previous job, and I want people to know your journey and what it was that you used to do, because you've just reminded me, and I remember having this conversation. So yeah, I'll let you tell everyone that.
Okay, so where should I start? From the beginning, like when I finished uni, and then like do like a whistle stop tour? Right, okay, so like I said earlier, I wasn't really shown that computing was something you could go into at school, and which was quite interesting because my brother went to a boys' school, which was kind of twinned with my school, and he was given GCSE and A-level computing, so it obviously did exist then. And he's only 2.5 years younger than me, so went to uni and did business studies, and you had to specialise in HR, marketing, or accounting, and I didn't fancy HR or accounting, so I chose marketing, and then started doing marketing. I did a few different jobs and then got laid off actually. And I have thought about maybe doing a talk on surviving redundancy because I've had to go through it 3 times now.
I think that's useful.
Yeah. And everybody's story is different, and mine was a bit kind of unusual. But yeah, so I got made redundant. I was like, oh, it was really horrible, and I wasn't really expecting it. And I'd had my career kind of mapped out in front of me as to what I wanted, and then somebody just decided that wasn't going to happen, and I wasn't happy about that. So after that I looked for work, and I got a job at the Met Police working marketing for them, and I ended up staying for 12 years in different roles in the police. And after a while I decided I didn't want to do marketing anymore, and the good thing about the police is you can move around quite a lot. So I worked in at one point I was working covert surveillance, which was quite interesting. And then my last job in the police was working in the local police stations, managing like the fleet and the uniforms and all that stuff police officers need to do their jobs. So like you'd be sitting in the office on like an afternoon like this, because like criminals like to go out when it's sunny. They don't like to go out when it's raining and cold. So yeah, this is perfect weather for them.
Right.
You just sit there doing your thing, and then the officers will come in like covered in blood saying, oh, there's been a stabbing, and then you'd have to go and try and find some more uniforms. Because they go straight out again. They don't just go home.
Yeah.
Like if that happened to one of us at work, you'd just go home, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But they can't go home. So yeah, so it's like really kind of challenging that way. But then I kind of reached a point where I thought, okay, so in the public sector, and any of you folks who worked in the public sector will probably be able to relate to this, is that you kind of either stay 5 minutes or you stay for the rest of your life. And I was like, do I want to do this until I retire? I'm like, no, I kind of want to do this computing thing. And so I decided, because I didn't really want to, I was a bit scared, I didn't really want to go to the extreme. So I decided to take a career break and go on a coding boot camp. So my job would still be there when I came back. And so I did that, came back, because I heard rumblings they were going to offer us redundancy. So when I came back, they said, yes, we're going to offer you the redundancy. I was like, oh, thank you very much. So that was a quite happy redundancy story.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I left, and I think because I was a little bit older and I had this redundancy behind me and stuff like that, it was a lot easier to kind of relax and think about what I wanted my next steps to be. Whereas I think, when the first time I got made redundant when I was 26, it felt like my world had just fallen out from underneath me. Whereas when I got made redundant when I was 39 or 40, it didn't feel like as much of a disaster personally to me, because my life personally was different by then. But for a lot of people it is, because at my age a lot of people have got children and they've got all sorts of responsibilities and stuff, whereas luckily I didn't have that. So yeah, that is my journey. But the good thing about doing this Ladies of Code is that in my volunteering with them I get to combine the bits that I liked of marketing and management and leadership and stuff like that with software. So I kind of gave up marketing because I didn't really enjoy stuff about it and the way you have to work and the environment and the fact that everyone, I think everyone gets this in their job, but everyone thinks they can write a press release better than you can, or everyone thinks they can design things. It's like, it just gets tiring. So now I get to do the bits that I still enjoy without all that rubbish, and I don't get paid, so I can just say I don't want to do that because I'm not getting paid. So yeah, I think
what you mentioned about using the skills that you had now is really important, because there are a lot of people who we speak to who transition from a previous career to this new career, and they're like, oh, like I'm going into a team, like, I'm a junior developer, like I don't know anything. And it's like, well, no, hold on, like you will have transferable skills, like think about those. And actually it's really important to have those skills and use them. Like I have quite a, I think I have quite a boring, journey where I did like a degree, work, So I don't have that other skill set really. Like my skill set has just been coding with like a bit of design, whereas like I actually think someone like you who has had another career and then come into tech is almost in a better position because you have a whole new set of skills that someone like me doesn't. You know, I just did this and then now I'm working, you know.
Yeah, and I think the key is to be able to identify those skills and sell yourself with them.
Yeah.
Because you have got them, but if you can't sell yourself, it is a big waste, isn't it? And it's not, I'm not saying it's an easy thing to be able to do, because especially women, we don't like to kind of brag about ourselves.
No.
So that can be really hard. But like you say, you definitely have to kind of recognise those skills and make sure they're on your CV and you can demonstrate them and stuff. Because a lot of these tech teams, they need those people with those skills, don't they? Or even just a case of like, I don't know, you read the documentation on some of these people's projects and you think, did you even bother?
Yeah.
I don't want to contribute to this because it doesn't sound like it. So even stuff like that. Yeah, totally. It's definite. It's not just a case of you learn to code and then you can go be a really good coder. Like most of the time you have to work in a team, don't you? So all of that team stuff.
And particularly if you want to become a tech lead as well, like those, I actually really dislike the word soft skills, but like those skills, you know, those people skills, those team skills, those communication skills are actually such a big part of being, they're almost more important if you're a tech lead than being able to write like good code, because you are leading a team, you know, you need to communicate with various different people in the company. And actually those skills are so important, like in whichever tech job, you know, you go into. We had someone at our December open source event, 24 pull requests, where, you know, she'd come and she learned a bit of Git. And she said, she kind of sat down and she said, I don't really know if I'll be able to contribute much today because I don't really know much about code. And I said, okay, like, what's your day-to-day job? And she went, I'm a copywriter. And I was like, hold the fort. Like, you are the best person to be looking at documentation, doing pull requests to like fix grammar, you know, fix spelling mistakes, if you read this thing and you don't understand it, you can write a comment and say, you need to elaborate on this bit. And by the end of she'd never done a pull request before this day. By the end of the day, she'd done 7. And she didn't understand actually how important that skill was that she had. And I was like, you're the best person to be like doing this, because that's such a good skill.
Yeah, I think it's a self-perpetuating thing whereby the folks that are in tech don't value it, and therefore they don't big it up, and therefore you never hear about it, and therefore you end up going to Kim's meetup and saying you haven't got anything to contribute, and then Kim tells you can do 7 pull requests in one day. So,
at our panel that we ran a few weeks back, one of the questions on there, because our panelists all had their tech job less than a year, and I really wanted it to be like really fresh and new so that they could help like our community. And one of the questions was like, what type of questions did you get at your interview? And one of the women on there, she went, well, actually, I didn't really get that many tech questions, actually, because they knew I was a junior. They actually wanted to know more about me. So it was like, you know, demonstrate to me when you've like communicated a problem to someone like clearly, or, you know, how did you handle like a stressful situation? And actually, she said she realized that it doesn't matter actually what career she'd had before or whether this was her first job. Again, those were skills that they wanted to know to see whether, you know, like coding, you can train someone up with coding, but like if someone's not willing to learn, if they communicate badly and, you know, maybe they're not very nice, you're not going to want them on your team. So actually those skills are so important. It's something that I'm always trying to like tell people like all the time as much as possible.
Yeah, and like in our Get Into series, one of the questions I always ask is, what are you looking for on people's CVs?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and like, so when we had the engineering manager on, and I said to her, because one of the questions somebody sent in was, it's linked to what you said just now. I said, I've got management experience from outside, but not a lot of coding experience. Can I come in as an engineering manager? And she said, yeah, it's entirely possible that you could, because there's so many different flavors of engineering management that some folks are very kind of in the weeds doing a lot of coding. Other folks are totally not. Some of them can't program. They're more to do with the line management and the resourcing of the team and having those conversations with other people in the business to make sure their team's job is made easier and stuff. Yeah. If anyone wants to check out those videos, we've got all of them apart from gaming. So we've got engineering, management, web development, testing, and product management are on our YouTube channel. And data engineering will be going up in the next couple of days. So if anyone wants to check them out, then you're very welcome to.
Yeah, go check those out. So we have another question that's come through. How to keep the motivation? Now, I don't know whether that means during lockdown or learning to code, but I'm going to take it as learning to code. So how do you keep motivation when learning to code very early on?
That is a really good question. I think you've got to keep it manageable. So if you give yourself a stretch goal and you can't do it, like literally, I mean, Kim, you've been there, I'm sure. Code can be so frustrating that you are crying.
Yep.
Literally, you are actually sobbing because you can't get this thing to work.
Yeah.
So I think you need to kind of be realistic and make it manageable and just keep practicing.
Yeah.
Just keep chipping away, and don't be scared. You're not going to break the computer. Well, okay, if you do an RMRF, you might, but I'm really thinking you're not going to.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe plot out a plan of what you want to achieve by the end of the day or the end of the week, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Of like some incremental goals.
Yeah.
Rather than, right, I want to create a web app maybe in the next 3 months. Yeah, that, break it down a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's probably. And also try and find other people that are doing it as well. So like, I reckon Codebar Slack is probably a good place to go and chat with folks and say, is anyone else doing this tutorial? Anyone want to chat about it or something like that? Just get a bit of support. But also, if accountability is your thing, then say to that person, right, I'm going to finish that module of that thing by the end of the week, and you're going to hold me accountable. So try a combo of those things. One of them stick, because everyone is different.
Yeah, I always tell students as well, once you've done a bunch of tutorials, like tutorials can get a bit boring because you don't feel like there's like an end goal. And so I say to them to try and almost set themselves like a little project, like you said, like a goal, and it can be the smallest thing ever, and it could be like, or find a problem in your life. So for me, I remember a mini project that I did several years ago was I wasn't drinking enough water. Now this was before Slack, before you could set yourself like Slack reminders. And I wanted a Chrome extension that every hour on the hour just did an alert saying drink. Because I was like, I'm not drinking enough water. Like, it's different if I've got like a bottle next to me, I'll remember, but like I can forget. And so, yeah, it was this tiny project, and then it's also always something to talk about, like in an interview, if someone's like, like, can you demonstrate like some skills that you've got? You're like, well, I can't, I don't have any job, but actually I've got, these 6 little projects that show off, like 6 different areas of like, JavaScript or, like Python or something. And it particularly if it's solving you a problem in your life, you'll be motivated to do it because it's solving a problem for you.
Yeah, and I think some hiring managers that are a little bit more enlightened now, they actually don't like whiteboarding people either.
Good.
I say whiteboarding, I shouldn't use that term, but they don't like people having to code out on the wall. So if you can show them a bunch of projects, that makes their life a lot easier because they can just deep into one of your projects and say, okay, so why did you choose to do that? And okay, what was your decision-making process there? Or why have you used this instead of this? Or, what did you consider and what challenges did you face and things like that? Sometimes can be a lot more valuable, and more managers are coming away from this whole let's do a code thing. Unfortunately, it is still prevalent. Yeah. But the more modern thinking ones are realizing it's not actually a lot of use. And I think as well, another thing that I would say to people that are learning is don't look at a project and think, oh, that's just no use to anybody. Like, for example, the to-do list, right? So you've got a list of things, you want to add things onto a to-do list, and then you want to delete them from the to-do list. That sounds really simple, but it isn't.
Yeah.
you can't do that after reading one tutorial. So don't look at something and think, oh, you know, that's really useless. Nobody's going to want to know that, and that won't prove anything. There are a lot of different things that you can, different concepts and principles that you need to be able to do to create something like that, and then you can talk about it. So yeah, don't ever think that anything's too small, because it's all part of the whole journey, and then you can take what you learned in that one and then build it into your next project, which might include other stuff as well. Because some of these things are very they're very kind of, what's the word, they're a bit perennial, aren't they? They appear in most projects like a loop. That'll be in every project. So as soon as you get like down with the loops, then you'll be able to just do it without thinking, won't you?
And the more you do it, the more you'll remember. And it might be that one time you do it one way, and like you said, another time you might do it like in a slightly different way. And every time you do a little project, you're gaining a little bit more experience in that, you know, discipline.
Yeah, and start with the basic version of something. So like start with a simple if else or something like that. And then don't bother going to while or any of those more complicated. Just get really down with the if else, and then later build on it to kind of just incrementally build it up. Because I think with coding, like I said earlier, it can be so frustrating, especially when you can't figure out why it works. So give yourself the best chance of it working, I guess. And make sure you know what works and why it works, and then build on a bit, and then you think, okay, so I know that bit works, I've done that, it's this bit now that I need to figure out.
Yeah, it's always quite fun as well when you've written, if you've done like a little project like that, and then, you know, 6 months later you go back and look at your code again, and you realize actually how much you've learned in that time, and you realize that you want to redo bits. And that's a really good, I think, habit to get into as well, because it makes you feel good knowing, because sometimes, you know, you can feel a bit meh, you know, about like processes, you know, and it's a bit of like a roller coaster sometimes, I think, learning any new skill. And yes, it's always nice then to see, go back, you know, even it could be, you know, 3-4 months, depending on how much you do in that time, and go, oh, actually, I get that more now, or oh, I could write that a bit better. And then like it makes you like feel good knowing that you've progressed.
Yeah, and what I would encourage folks to do, if they haven't already, is learn like the basics of Git. And you don't have to go too deep into this. I don't know whether you've got a codebar tutorial on Git.
We do, yeah. Well, it's a version control, but it's not terminal. It's like the GUI, but it is an intro to Git.
Okay, so what I would suggest is do that, and then link up with what you just said, because then if you go back 3 months later, then you've got your commit history, and then, you know, if you do go for an interview, you can say to somebody, right, okay, I did this like whenever, and then 3 months later I thought, let's go and improve it, and then there's an actual audit trail. So it's not just you saying that you did. It's actual proof there.
That's a great idea.
You can compare the old with the new, and show them like why you changed it, and you can even like put comments in your code, can't you? So you can say, I'm changing this because
you can have change logs as well, so you can be like, you know, I've now done this improvement, and it'll demonstrate to them like your progress and like your learning, which, you know, early on I think is very, very important.
Yeah, and like you say, it's good for you as well, because I remember like when I was working in marketing, and like reading stuff that I wrote, like reading press releases and articles that I write, and I'm like, who wrote that? Oh, it's me. And you do remember how far you came from that. So, yeah, definitely good, especially in coding, to look at what you couldn't do 6 months ago, and that hopefully that will give you a bit of like adrenaline to carry on. Because I think it's very easy to look at what you can't do, and look at you know, other folks can like create a whole app by themselves. It's like, okay, everyone's different. So looking back at what you couldn't do 6 months ago and comparing it with now is probably more useful than looking at what you can't do now.
Yeah, that's really nice. Like a little like journal of some kind to like keep your progress.
Yeah, and then you can talk about it as well, can't you? Because I think when you're a beginner, it's really easy to forget what it's like to be a beginner. And I think that's why a lot of talks don't really hit the mark for beginners. Which is why, going full circle to what we were saying at the beginning, is really important for everybody to think about what they could talk about. Because as a beginner, you've got a perspective that loads of people have forgotten how that feels.
Yeah, 100%. Right, we 50 minutes. 50 minutes we've been chatting for. It's amazing.
Oh, it feels like 3 years.
Is there anything you want to promote, tell us about Ladies of Code before we wrap up? Like, how can people get involved? Where can they find you? That type of stuff.
Yeah, so we are based on meetup.com. So if you search for Ladies of Code UK, or if you go onto my website, suze.dev, and then put /LOC, it will send you to that meetup page. So yeah, become a member on there, and then you'll get a notification every time we put out a new event. On there, you will also see you'll see our YouTube link. But again, if you go to suze.dev/YouTube, that will give you a quick way of getting straight there to all the interviews that I talked about earlier with people talking about different tech roles and stuff like that. So like I said, we've been running Get On With It at least every week, sometimes twice a week since April. So I think we're on number 19 or 20 on Sunday. So that is available for you to sign up if you want to come and do your own thing on Sunday afternoon. Come to meetup.com and book your place on there. That's done on Zoom and Slack. So you'll need a Zoom account to participate in that, and hopefully a Slack, because we don't like to lose people. So we get everyone like signed up on Slack, and then you can just dip in and out when you want to.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, that's our sourdough temperature checker. Saying that it's too hot.
Yeah, you don't even need the oven.
Pardon?
You don't even need the oven. Just leave it on the windowsill.
Well, basically, my partner got like a little temperature thing to check that the dough doesn't get too hot, and it beeps if it gets too hot.
It works. It does work.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I was like, "Whoa, your house is on fire. You better get out."
No. You just him running in.
Why are you so calm? Like there's a smoke alarm going off.
Apparently, it's 27.5 degrees in here.
How much?
27.5 degrees.
That's okay. That's just right. That's just right for me. Yeah.
Sorry.
I like it more.
Carry on.
That's all right. So yeah, Get On With It is on there for people to sign up for on Sunday. And like I said, we're in the process of planning out our public speaking, I guess, coaching session for people to get their tech topics and their abstracts and their bios sorted. So we haven't got a date for that yet, but hopefully in the next few weeks. And in terms of Get Into, we're talking to a data, I think she's a data scientist. Now, she's either a data analyst or a data scientist. I should know this, but we've had data engineering recently, and now I think I've got mixed up in my brain.
Yeah.
Plus it's hot. So right, she's either data analyst or data scientist. So she'll be coming on Get Into to talk to us about how to get into that. Again, we're waiting for a date on that. And we've also got somebody who has done a side project that they managed to get into the App Store. So we're hoping to get them to come on and get into the App Store. So yeah, again, if everyone signs up to meetup.com, then you'll get a notification when these events go live.
Perfect.
So,
thank you very much. And yeah, thank you for giving up, a very warm evening to come and talk to us all. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
And hopefully I'll see you in person soon.
Yeah, hopefully this year sometime. I think I owe you another talk at Monthlies, so I'm keen to do that.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, see you soon and stay safe.
You too. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.